Investing in Airbnbs, as I've gone over with you guys many times before, has brought a sense of passion to my life in real estate investing that simply long-term rentals could never fulfill. Yes, I own a lot of long-term rentals, but guess what? The problem with long-term rentals is they don't many times give you the massive returns that you can see in Airbnb. But remember, owning an Airbnb is not fully passive. You have to be active in a little bit of it. And the big part of being active in it is doing the research up front, because you're not just buying a home, you're really starting a business, because each home is its own business. Now, don't be scared you. You don't have to have super complex systems, and you can hire a property manager, which is why I will go over in this video some of the expenses that you'll actually incur. But more importantly, we're gonna also talk about the profit, how to find out how much that home that you've gone through the 3 previous videos I've done on this topic. And if you haven't had a chance to watch those, stop this video, go into the library and watch from the beginning on how to find your first Airbnb and go through each steps from finding the securing your financing to how to locate a market to how to find a property within that market. And now the final and 4th step is how to determine if that property will be profitable and how much money you can plan to make every month once everything is said and done on that property. And now, don't also forget, if you haven't been pre-approved for that Airbnb property, you need to do that, because at the end of the day, you're out there and you're just wasting your time, because if you don't have the financial resources to be able to buy that home, then let's focus your energy there, whether that's paying off debt, whether that's going ahead and maybe pulling some money out of your current residential home to have a down payment. Let's get your finances in order so you can actually execute on the plan. But for all of you those that are ready to take this journey with me, let's jump in as I show you in this video how to determine how much money the property should make, what expenses you can plan to have, and lastly, how much profit at the end of the day you're going to be putting in your bank account after that mortgage payment to help you on that journey of earning a passive income and enjoyable life. So let's go. So you'll notice we're back on the website we were previously at, AirDNA.co. And as you know before, as I showed you in the last video, we can use this, and AirDNA is purchased on a per city basis. Now, for everybody that gets pre-approved with modern lending in one of the states that we lend in, and if you're curious about that, check my bio. What we do is we actually provide you a copy based on the city that you told us you're going to get pre-approved in and the approximate price range you're going to be looking at. We'll give you this full AirDNA report that I'm going to go over with you now. So you won't have to spend up to $1,000 to get this information. We go ahead as a company, spend well over $10,000 to get these reports in every single area within the entire country. So let's jump in. So I'm in my Nashville market, and this is what we utilize to find that right type of property. So what we're gonna go over here is how are we gonna determine how much are we going to make? Well, we need to figure out approximately what the total amount of revenue we can expect is from our property. So what's really cool about AirDNA, we can come right down here and we can go to the Rentalizer button. And in that Rentalizer button, we can type right in here the address of the property, which is one of the properties that I actually own myself. All right, so you're gonna come right into here and it's gonna go ahead and it's gonna pull it up. And in this thing, you wanna make sure your information is correct. And the reason why that is sometimes this information isn't correct. But what I do like to see is this number, your average daily rate. Now, what this is going to default to is a worst case scenario, assuming your property is about performing less than 50% percentile. So what I like to always do is once I get my average daily rate of $363, what I go ahead and do is I go back in to the occupancy up here. And what I do is I go in here and I say, okay, let me look at the historical occupancy of a 3-bedroom home that in my case, I put a lot of bedrooms because that's key. You want a lot of beds in your property. So mine, even though it's a 3-bedroom, it sleeps 8 people comfortably, up to 10 people because there's some bunk bedrooms, right? And then my properties, I make them very nice. I do spend the money up front. Now, if you don't have the money to try to make them quite as flashy, then using the 50th percentile will work. However, I like mine to perform better than pretty much 75% of the properties out there because I make them very trendy and not spending a lot of money. So you'll notice here that the average occupancy rate here is averaging around 77% occupancy, right? Below months, you'll see right around 55, so about 72. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'll use 70% to be conservative. What I did was we went ahead and remember in that Rentalizer, what came and what we showed up, as you can see lightly here, was $363 per night is my average daily night. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna come in here and pull up my calculator and I'm gonna type in $363 a night times, okay, a total of how many months there are, how many days there are in the year, which is 365. Okay, now I'm gonna rent it, assuming for 70% occupancy or 70% a year. That gives me $92,000 of expected profit. Okay, now give you guys an idea, I actually rent this property out. So I'll actually go ahead and show you what my owner's statements actually look like. So you can see my properties do a little bit better. So like on this property, here's my actual statements from the 2 properties I own. So these 2 properties you'll see here, there, and the reason, depending on the way your system does. So this period of October, which isn't the busiest month, did $3,100 from this booking site, $2,200 from that booking site, which is about $5,500. And lastly, about $14,000 or about $15,000. So I did about $20,000 between the 2 properties, which is about $10,000 per property is what I've basically been doing. So in the month of October, each one of those homes rented $10,000. Now, obviously that's a busier month than normal. So that's what we'll go ahead. And now that we know we used our 70% occupancy, what we've gone ahead and what we can do is we can go in and start playing with doing our calculation. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go to Bigger Pockets. Now, Bigger Pockets is a site that I use. It's not expensive to sign up. And we also too, I can send you this. If you get pre-approved, we actually will send you this formula that you can actually go ahead and use. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a profit statement, meaning how much can I expect to make versus what expenses are on. So you come onto Bigger Pockets and you come on here into the tools and you click on rental property. Under that rental property, I pulled in my property address, I entered in my information, and I came down. I purchased this property for $675,000. My closing costs were approximately 10 grand. Now, I went ahead, like I said, I made this I put about 40 grand into the property between furniture. So as a good rule of thumb, remember, you wanna plan for typically somewhere in the range of about 5 to 10% of the purchase price to make it really nice for furniture, interior designs, getting photos done is a good number. So on here, I did about 8%. Now, because I've really put some key things in, it also added to the value of the property because the property now in this case, just a year after I bought it, is worth about $850,000 from everything from what the market's done. Once again, not a bad way to go ahead and put 20% down. I've already made 100% on my money. I put 20% down after, which was roughly about $150,000 with closing costs and everything in. And guess what? This property that I purchased in 2020, now in 2021 is worth it's actually probably be almost 900 grand, but about 850,000. So think about that. I made $175,000 just on appreciation on the property. That's insane. It's over 100% return on my money plus all the rental money I'm making on my Airbnb. So now what we're gonna go do is we're gonna put our loan details in. So in this case, I just did 20% down for you guys. Current market rate of a second home, it's about 3% give or take, 30-year term, and goes ahead and fill that in. Now that determines, and why we did that is we need to determine what our mortgage payment is. It's great that we're making potentially $90,000 a year that we've gone ahead and done, which we right here about $90,520 per year, but we got a mortgage payment to pay. So we need to figure out what that's going to be. Now, what we've gone ahead and done, and so I'm gonna go in here and it's about $7,700 a month conservatively for property. Now, mind you, this is just a random estimate. This is not apply to this property, let me tell you. So put in your gross monthly, and this means on an annualized basis, you take your $90,000 divided by 12 and you put in your rough number, okay? So just for easy numbers, I'm gonna put in $7,500 a month is what on average. Now Airbnb is seasonal. So in the January and February, this may only be 4 grand. But in big months, like in July, it's 12 grand, right? So I put that in, then I just literally click next, property taxes. My property taxes on this home are $267 a month. I know it's nice. Taxes in Tennessee are really low. That's why it's one of my favorite markets. My insurance is $133 a month. And here's what I go ahead and put in. Use 2% of the purchase price for repairs and maintenance on the property. Then I go ahead and I like to give myself a little vacancy factor of 5%, meaning this, I assumed 70% occupancy, but let's go ahead and set aside about $375 a month just for whoopsies, right? Just whoopsies, just if we're off, because I want to run things conservative. Then I set aside about $150 a month in capital expenditure, or 2% of the purchase price. Why this is important is because things come up, okay? You guys are gonna have a couch that gets damaged. You guys are gonna have, something that needs repainted every so. So you set aside as part of your budget, just so you can understand. And then lastly, management fees. Now I have a complete awesome management company. Now, if I wasn't so busy being CEO of 2 companies, I would manage these myself using Wheelhouse and Guesty, which I'll go ahead and in later videos. If you guys comment below that you guys want to see those videos, please comment below and tag a friend and I will do those videos for you guys. You guys keep helping this. So my management fees are about 18%. Electricity, it's roughly $200 a month. My gas is only about $100 a month. Water and sewer and all that's only about $99 a month. And the HOA takes care of the garbage at $170 a month. So I went ahead and it's pretty easy. You just fill it right through. So it's pretty easy to go ahead and do. And if you don't know what these utilities are right here, just go ahead and look at your utilities on your house and you assume those, especially if you're in somewhere like California, we're a lot more expensive than a lot of places. Then I click update analysis and it's gonna run my numbers. What do you know? Look at that. So you'll see my average rental income is $7,500 a month. Now, what I've gone ahead and done, remember this was worst case scenario. I wanted to give myself, you know what, if I don't hit that 70%, let's see what my numbers look like with only 65%. I'm paying the full management fee. I'm doing all this stuff. It tells me how much cash I need, because mind you, I did my down payment, plus I said I wanted to spend $40,000. Now, this wouldn't necessarily need to be your down payment. Obviously, this is based on almost a $700,000 house and really putting it in. Now you can see breakdown here. My mortgage is only $2,200 a month. My taxes are here. My insurance is here. Variable expenses, what does that mean? Those variable expenses are highlighted right here. So mind you, CapEx, maintenance, and vacancy. So of those $300 of expenses, so it's $675 of these expenses are just like saving for a rainy day fund, okay? So realistically, my true monthly costs on a real basis are only about $4,600 a month. Now, look at that. At $7,500 in rental income, all my expenses with even saving all that money for a rainy day, okay? At the end of the day, I am cash flowing on this property, right? Cash flowing on a monthly basis of this property. You guys can go ahead and see that, right? So you see, this gives you all the breakdowns of all that. Check this out. I'm cash flowing on this property at about $28,000 a year. $28,000 a year, pure cash flow. And that's after setting aside all of those items. Now, look at this. Here's the profit if I sold it. What is that coming from? Because basically what it's assuming is roughly about a 5% appreciation period. So look at this. At the end of 5 years, my property value would be $828,000. You can see I'm using very conservative. I have paid down my loan balance. So now I have an additional about $348,000 in equity. My loan I only owe is that $480,000. My cash flow I'm making, because rents continue to go up, I'm making $3,000 a month at the end of the day. That's after paying my mortgage payment. I'm literally making $3,000 a month based in 5 years. And if I sold the property, remember in this case, I only put in a total of $185,000. I'm getting back from selling this property in $325,000. That means I'm giving myself back all that $185,000. Plus, on top of that, I have another $140,000 or more in profit. Plus, look at this. I've been making all that cash flow after everything for all that time. So look at that. That's $30,000, $60,000, right? Look at that, $90,000, $120,000. Now I'm at $160,000 in profit. So on top of that, so by buying this, I am doing an annualized return of 22%, okay? So you see this. This is insane that it does it for you. Now, you have to obviously understand what these numbers mean, but check this out. My monthly cash flow on year one, roughly about $2,100 a month. That's pretty cool that I could literally at the end of the day put 20% down, furnish the whole property itself, and immediately get paid $2,100 a month cash flow after everything, after paying my mortgage. And that was worst case. You can imagine here, if the vacancy is 0, right? Let's say the vacancy is 0%, meaning we hit our 70% number, which mine hit higher than that. Check that out, $2,500 a month in cash flow. That's after paying everything. That's a 16% cash on cash return. And that's still saving for that rainy day of an extra $300 a month. And that's not managing it myself. Look at that. If I was gonna manage this property myself, right? You can just think about that. Managing it yourself, that gives me an extra $1,350 a month. So if you wanna go ahead and you wanna see that, the great part about this tool is I can come right in, I can go in and edit it. and basically go ahead and do all of those items. So that is a really cool way on how you guys can actually understand. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, as a worst case scenario, if I have a bad month, a really bad month, and this property only does $4,000 that month in rental income, guess what? Okay, I have $600 or $300 right here. So my real expense are about $4,600. So on a worst case scenario, on a bad month, I maybe, because guess what? If it's a bad month, my management fees are going to be way lower. I'm breaking even. It's a worst case scenario. On a terrible month, on the lowest January of a nasty month, I'm breaking even basically on this property. And on a great month, as you can see, if I'm hitting a month where it's a $10,000 month like I've been hitting, you guys can see the math. I'm literally cash flowing $4,500 to $5,000 a month after everything is said and done. So that is how, once again, we can utilize something like AirDNA to go through, and bigger pockets to go through and make wise decisions. And what's really cool, like I said on AirDNA, you can just type in that property address and it's gonna go ahead and calculate the estimated rental, revenue, and this, but you need to look at this factor of 55% and go back in and actually see, based on utilizing something, like I said, like a 75th percentile on what you can expect. So that right there is going to go ahead and give you a good overview on how to calculate the planned profit from an Airbnb. Now, I know everything I went through is probably gonna take a couple times to sink in, but let me summarize it for you guys in a very easy Cliff Notes version. When you're trying to analyze a property, all you need to do is you need to figure out, by using tools like AirDNA.co, or you're gonna get pre-approved by Modern Lending, will give you this report, and it'll tell you exactly what the average daily night you should be expecting for that particular property. You take that number and you figure out there's 365 days in the year. So we take that's if your property was rented out every single day of the year, that's how much revenue you would have. Now, mind you, it's not going to rent that out. That's where we use the occupancy rate, which determines what percentage of the year it should rent out, and we multiply it that number and get the total expected gross profit, meaning before I pay any bills, what that looks like. Then I use a great tool on bigger pockets to go through, and it just determines, okay, how much is my mortgage payment? Okay, 18% property management fees if I'm not gonna manage it. Okay, how much is my utilities? Just think of it that way. And you just go through it line items. At the end of the day, it tells you how much cash flow you're going to get. And I like to use conservative numbers on that. And so it's really not complex. It's just a big addition and subtraction problem. And when you go ahead at the end of the day and you look at this type of investment compared to anything else out there, you're going to be hard to find another real estate investment opportunity that's going to give you these type of rewards as well. But not just cash flow. By buying in great markets, like I've taught you how to find in the other 3 videos, you're able to also take advantage of the price appreciation on the home. Now, if you guys liked this video, do me a favor, give me a comment below of what you liked most, or what you had a comment on that you needed me, or that you had a question on that you needed me to go ahead and provide a little bit more clarity. And I will make one more bonus video for you guys if this video can hit 3,000 views, teaching you some tax advantage strategies of buying Airbnbs as a bonus video, or you can go ahead and send me a DM and I'll go ahead and I'll send you that video. Take care, guys, and stay tuned for more ways to create passive income right here with Brian Decker.